But this our webinar is literally transform your transform your self-talk to success. I was like struggling with this the other day. I was like trying to talk about it on a video call, and I'm like self-talk, and I was like, this is a great heading that Heidi came up with.
He's like, damn you, this heading is impossible to say.
Yeah, and then I started talking shit to myself, and I was like, come on, Emil, you're about to talk about success and talking nicely to yourself in this space. And the reason why we're doing this webinar is because we did this webinar maybe a week and a half ago for about 4,000, it was 20,000 people over the weekend, but on our call, on average, we had about how much? 2 to 4,000. And when we typed in the questions, what was going on for people, what are the biggest stories they have, so many stories kept flooding through. I'm not enough, I don't follow through, I'm not smart enough, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I don't deserve the career that I want to have. And even if I tried to get that, or even if I was trying to step into that career, like who would I be to have that? You know, so many of us constantly are talking shit to ourselves. So this is why it's super important to actually distinguish, is this you, or have you made an agreement with yourself when you were a child, or maybe it was like you're a teenager, and agreed to that, and now you live up to that agreement every single time, because your self-talk is running your life. And I want you to think about this. How many times, and this is on a subconscious view, it's like, what do I say to myself when I get things wrong? What do I say to myself when I fail? What do I say to myself when I don't succeed the way it's meant to look? And ask yourself this question: what is your definition of success? Because if you actually tell me your definition of success, there's two things that are going to happen right now. You're going to write the version that sounds all pretty and shit, and then you're going to write the version that's real to you. So I want you to think about that and ask yourself that, because this is where we get to actually go in and coach you guys and support you in going deeper with the stories that I keep having on a consistent basis. Now, there's quite a few of you guys that we've coached before and have been past students, which is awesome, because I might...
Charmaine too.
Yes, I just saw Riani too. So...
okay, cool. All right, so what we want to look at first is how we shift from focusing on ambition over to meaning. So what we know is really common for the human mind to do is, when we look at success, we always look at what it is externally that we can gain gratification from. And we do this because of the way that the mind works and how we're looking for acceptance in society, with our family, with our partner, even with our children. So what ends up happening is that we end up trying to kind of climb this ladder and get all of these external wins to get filled up. Because every time we get that kind of gold star, or we get some kind of external gratification or recognition, we get filled up for that moment. It's like, good girl, good boy, you're doing a great job. But what happens with that is, when we're only focused on ambition, we tend to get caught up in the belief, and our identity starts to tell us that I am what I have, so I am the stuff that I have, and I am the things that I have. I am what I do, so I am what I do in the world, and I am the achievements that I've made. And I am what other people think of me. Now, what happens when we start operating that way is, if your stuff or your things are taken away, then we're left feeling like we're doing something wrong, or that we're not enough because we're without that stuff or those things. So this could be your car, this could be money, this could be your house even. So what's actually happening right now with what's happening in the world is, we're sort of seeing like mass grief, because we've bought into this belief that if I have the house, if I have the car, if I have all of these things, then I am good enough. And when they're taken away, we feel not good enough. We feel inadequate. And the same goes with your achievements. So the problem with this is that we end up wearing a whole lot of masks and doing a whole lot of things to please other people that we actually don't want to be doing. So one of the coaching techniques that I use if I'm really trying to look at where someone's at is I get them to write down what they want and what they don't want. And the I don't want column is always a lot longer than the want column. It's because we can end up sort of tied into doing these things, wearing masks that are not essentially who we are, to be able to please others, to be able to have these achievements. So we get this little filling up and short moments of kind of wins and gratification, but then we're left with this feeling of, you know, kind of like, what next? Do I have to just keep doing this? Do I have to just keep climbing the ladder? So the other problem with focusing on being ambitious or just focusing on success is that you start to believe that you're alone. You're on this journey alone. I have to compete with others to be able to survive. I have to, and we're taught to do this at school. If you're a little bit smarter than everybody else, we're taught to compete. You get rewarded. You get shown happiness, joy, love, if you are slightly better than the person next to you. So we start to feel very alone in the world rather than supported and connected to those people that are around us. So this kind of belief of I'm actually separate from everybody else and I have to run this race on my own. And sometimes you'll look around and realize that no one is actually whipping you, that you are the only one with the whip out. You are the only one driving yourself to get to that next point of I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get this. And sometimes you need to look around and go, there's actually no one behind you. No one is driving you except you. The other thing that we get caught into with ambition is I have to please and prove my worth to be loved. Now, when we're children, it's really, really common with parents that we're shown a lot of love and happiness when we've proven ourselves to be good. And when we don't be good, that love is taken away. And this is really common. So we get caught in these habits and patterns, and then what happens is we start actually giving ourselves a hard time and pushing ourselves to succeed. And a lot of people use internal language with their self-talk to whip themselves through talking down to themselves to get to where they need to go in life. Now, the issue with this is that it works. So if you really, really give yourself a hard time about something, you have to do it this way, you have to do that, otherwise you're useless, do it this way, do it that way, hurry up, go faster, be better, progress more, do better. If you talk to yourself in that way, to push yourself to get to the next happiness moment, where you get another thing, or you get another little win, the problem with that is it works, except you're hurting yourself along the way. So you might end up getting what you wanted. You might kick that next goal. But the relationship that you have with yourself when you get there is broken. And we work with people that are in high performance. So, you know, people that have a lot of money and a lot of responsibility. And we know this to be true about them even because they have it all. And we all know this, they have it all, but their relationship with themselves is literally broken. So how do I work this mouse?
Scroll up or down.
Emil has so many gadgets here. It's like...
It's amazing.
Okay, so... we don't feel fulfilled. So you might get the goals, but internally you're like, yep, cool. I finally got that raise. I finally got that car. I finally got this business, but now what? I'm just gonna create another goal. So it's a never-ending race, and it really lacks internal fulfillment. You end up pretending to be someone that you're not to please others.
I was gonna say that it's really interesting because we were coaching this hip hop artist, and he was number one for 8 years. And when I asked him what he first started doing this profession, like how old was he when he first started rapping, and started in the game of hip hop, and he's like, oh no, I was 13 or 14. I said, why did you want to do it? And he said, I just wanted to have fun with my friends. And he goes, and I wanted to impress a girl. And I was like, okay, cool. Now all of a sudden he was doing this for so long, having fun with it, right? And then he got better at it, and then he got picked up. By 21, he was number one in Germany. Now, he went from number one for 8 years, and it turned from fun and showing his friends to, I have to be number one, otherwise it's not enough. Now, the problem with that is it's an extreme case, but it's exactly the same case as all of us. Until we get this goal, what happens? And I asked him, I said, what happened when you became number one? He's like, well, I got it. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And his adrenaline kicked in, his self-worth kicked in, his confidence kicked in. He became this person, he became this image. And then it happened again. And he's like, I didn't get the same feeling. And then I did it again. And I was like, okay, what's next? I've got to create something different. So what did he do? He started to go off track to the point where it's like, I can't be. He's like, I want to be. At the start, he goes, the cool kids like my stuff. But then when I became commercial and everybody started liking my stuff, the cool kids didn't like my stuff, but I made more money. So I'm in two predicaments right now. I'm making more money and I'm number one, but then the cool kids don't like me. And that's because he doesn't like himself. He hasn't accepted himself. He hasn't embraced himself. Now, what does he do? He's like, I'm caught in this thing because I want the cool kids to like me, but I also want the general public to like me because that's how I make money. So what do? And this is where he gets pulled, and there's a gap. And when there's a gap, this is when you will feel alone, because you're no longer going by what is internal and what speaks to you. You're going by, I need acceptance. I need to prove it from other people. And I'll do anything I can to get that. And this is where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah. And it's, just using him as an example, I've never met someone more lonely who had an entourage of people around him 24/7. And he was the loneliest person I've ever met. But we've all done this. Like we're all doing it to a certain degree, where we're separating from ourselves and separating from each other because we believe we're alone rather than, and then what happens when we do that is you start avoiding sharing your actual gifts and you start hiding your true self from the world. And this is where it literally gets to the point where it's like you're breaking your own heart. So when it comes to shifting this, shifting into meaning, and it feels so much better and it feels really good. And I'm going to go into meaning in a minute. But the first thing that I need you to do is you have to have the awareness first of what you are hiding, what you are avoiding, and what you're pretending not to know about yourself right now. The ways in which you're doing this, the ways in which you're kind of separating from yourself, the things you're pretending not to know about yourself, the things that you're avoiding dealing with, and the things about yourself that you are hiding from the world, you need to write them down.
And it's funny, I guarantee some of you, I can't see all of you on the video, but I guarantee
you can't see their little faces.
I know some of you will be literally smiling when you're like, avoiding? I don't avoid shit. Yeah, I can see you. Right? So write them down, because I would love to get someone on here and coach them.
What are you hiding, or where are you hiding? What are you avoiding that you don't want to look at? Because when we start creating meaning, purpose, vision, all of these things, which is where I spend most of my time with people, this is the stuff that no one can see that will filter and color everything you create. It'll come out in your wording, it comes out in your energy. when we look at decorating your life with more meaning and shifting from I just have to have external success to internal meaning and fulfillment, the success comes. That part's actually easy. But we have to get clear first. It's kind of like we need a clean slate. It's like before we decorate the outside of the house, let's do some repairs on the inside of the house. Because you might have a beautiful garden and a nice car parked in the driveway, but it's like someone walking into your house and everything is leaking. So what are you hiding, avoiding, and pretending not to know? And if anyone is game enough, we'll just give you another minute or two. We'd love to get a share from you so we can break this down.
Open up the...
Shit, there's someone else there. Oh no.
No, it's not. Open up the folder.
How?
Click it.
Hang on. Yes. Charmaine should answer this.
All right, who wants to go? Sarah.
Sarah.
All right, I'll unmute you. All right, what's your stories?
Well, I wrote it down, but I'm going to say actually like the first thing that comes to mind and hey, everybody, we're 42 and with you two 44. So nice to meet you. I'm in Montreal. It's the evening and it's the morning for you.
Awesome.
It's great to meet people from all over the world.
Good to see you here.
So yeah, I'm an artist. I'm an actress and singer,
yeah.
But I've been, well, as an actress, I've been playing other people's words, obviously. And as a singer, I've always been singing other people's material. So always doing covers and I make a living out of it. But I have been writing and composing all my life, every day, ever since I was a kid. I have been writing songs and writing like poetry and I have never shared any of my songs or my poetry with the world. And I know this is like what's most true and what like will inspire me and inspire the world the most, but this is what I'm afraid the most, like to really fully show up and show my truth and my vulnerability through my creativity. And like just muting down my own creativity is insane because it's like holding back on my truth.
Notice even as you're speaking your throat.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, so what happens usually so your throat is this is where your
the expression chakra. Yeah.
It's like it's how you express. So the moment like we feel like whenever we're in uncomfortable situations, whenever we're confronting someone that we don't want to confront, what happens is that we kind of close it up. It's kind of like a trying to protect you, but when you sing, you're a singer, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you sing and nobody's watching, how well is your voice? You guarantee you doesn't choke up like that.
It depends. Even when I'm on my own, sometimes like when I'm in my shadows and I want to control, then it's going to be tense. It happens even when I'm alone.
That's right. When you're in your shadows and when you're focusing on what you're not, right?
Yeah.
When you're allowing and you're letting go, what happens is that there's freedom.
Of course.
Flow, right?
Of course, it's super free. Same as when I'm on stage. Sometimes it's super free when I'm just in the flow, in the moment, the pleasure, the bliss, the flow.
So
and sometimes I'm.
Let's go into the fear. What would happen if you release it? If you show someone?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's always the fear of failure and of not being good enough or being rejected. And I'm super aware of it, but I still do it, which is insane.
So the fear of failure, right? Because I hear this a lot, and actually I heard it on the call last night with April. Is it the fear of failure or is it the fear of success?
It's very interesting. I've asked myself this question. Probably both, because like the fear of failure and the fear of success, but like, oh shit, my first language is in French. How can I express this? It's like having success, but not being at the height of like the success I dream of having. I'm afraid like not being good enough for that success to sustain it or to like.
This is so interesting. When you set a bar for yourself that's here and you're not there yet, let's say it is that fame or it is the car or it is I want to be a mother or whatever it is, whatever the goal is that you set. If you do not have a practice in your life of practicing connection, presence, stillness with yourself and the world around you, until you get that thing, you will always feel inadequate and that you're doing something wrong. Rather than, how do I flip it? So, and we're going to go into this a little bit later, but how do I build meaning in small, precious moments, self-kindness and compassion, holding myself kindly? How do I build meaning in little moments along the way so that when the challenges come to take us, that will naturally take you to that level at some point, you know how to hold yourself. Because what you're doing is you're pushing yourself and going, there's something wrong with you because you're not here yet. So when a challenge comes up that you have to bridge against to be able to get to that next level, you balk and you freeze because you're so used to, you can't push yourself here through unkind wording to get where you need to go. And then when you need to show up, the thing is, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work because that wording, whether it's nasty, whether you're pushing yourself, is what is limiting you from getting where you need to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The thing is, I'm going to challenge you because I've worked on my emotional intelligence and on healing and then like on loving myself and grounding myself. I've done a lot of work, but I still struggle. Like I do ground myself. I do nurture myself. I do have a much healthier relationship with myself. But there's still this step that I'm like so stuck in that I'm not like capable of truly showing up and sharing this. Like
Sarah, what does she say to herself?
Sarah, first things first, like what do you get from staying still and not putting yourself out there?
Well, safety, but it's like it's comfort, but it's uncomfortable. It's what I'm like.
It's more comforting than you putting yourself out there, so you stay there, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't stay there.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So this is the thing when I asked you before: fear of failure or fear of success. What happens when I have fear of failure? It's like I'm failing every single time I don't step out. So I'm actually okay with being failure. So it's actually fear of success because if I go to the success and I go to the next level, if I lose it all after having it, that's going to be more devastating than not having it all because I never tried before.
Wow. Oh my God. Like I just had a breakthrough because like this is what I've been doing. Like it's emotional intelligence stuff. So let's just bare my soul. But that's what happened. Like my biggest wound, because we're talking about childhood wounds and it all stems from there. And my biggest wound is my dad abandoned me. And then like I met my dad for the first time when I was 5. And then the next time when I was 21. And then when I was 21 again, he accepted me and then pushed me away. So like every time I got something I really wanted, like the success or the love, it was taken away. And it happened like so many times in my life. So I'm afraid
how old were you when you first I can't even talk. How old when you first had this happen?
5.
Okay, so at 5 years old, you made an agreement. What was the story? What was the agreement you made to yourself?
I have to be perfect to be loved, and I don't really deserve love, so I have to work to get love.
Yes. Do you see what my teacher says?
Probably backwards.
Fuck perfection. Yeah.
Right?
Perfect alignment, baby.
And the reason why I have this is because I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. I had a story that everything has to be perfect, otherwise I'm not going to be enough. And I've always made it look good. Now, the same thing
Yep.
with you, Sarah, it's like this agreement that I have to do this, otherwise I'm not going to get that deep desire, that love and acceptance that I've been seeking so much from my father. So what I've done is I put my power into my father's hands, and I've said, here, I want you to give it back to me, and I want you to give it back to me like this, and the approval I want. And I've been seeking it so much that I'm going to outperform. And you became good. I have no doubt that you're amazing, but you're good behind the curtain. You're good behind closed doors.
In a cage. In a cage that I set for myself. And I'm the one stuck in it. It's crazy.
But the moment you actually give yourself permission and you let go of the approval that you're seeking from your father, which is, I know is going to be tough, but you have to I want you to write down all the things that I'm seeking from my father. What are all the things I want from him? And how can I give it to myself?
Yeah.
And this is the story. The story is that only when I get to here, then I deserve to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And you have to break it down. This is a journey. I literally was talking about this last night on the group. This is a marathon, not a race. And if I'm going to be in this race and this is what you love to do, then it's like, how am I going to show up every single day and commit to it? And every time I commit to it and I actually put a little bit of myself out there, and I know it's going to be scary because what's going to happen is you're going to shit yourself first and be like, these thoughts are going to come back and these stories. And
Of course.
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh shit. Because it's vulnerable. But the moment you actually start to accept that part of you, that little girl inside of you that's looking for the acceptance, that little girl that's looking for the approval, you give it to yourself and you say, I'm approving of you, and I'm doing it by showing the world that I can be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something else that also happens, Sarah, with a lot of personal development work is that we can kind of get caught in this belief that I've done the healing and I've worked on my mind, so where are the goddamn results? You know, it's like, this isn't working. Whereas
it's always a work in process. All our lives we're going to be evolving and healing and digging deeper.
Of course, but I also don't believe in this concept of peeling the onion all the time. You know, it's recognizing past is past, like hanging out in the past and hanging out in the future. Doing either of those two things is always going to cause you suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to, it's moment by moment, and I'm going to teach you this process today, moment by moment, recognizing the stories when they show up, getting faster at how you transform your relationship to them, and not expecting that the habits that you have, the stories that you have, the beliefs that you have, the pain that you have is going to go anywhere, because that is not how emotional awareness or intelligence works. And I know that we do this, like, it's like, I've done all the work, I just want all of that to go away so I can be fabulous. But it's like, that's not how it works. And for you specifically, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, shifting not only from success to meaning, because I think you're already there, like, you know what fulfills you, it's just this final little turning point, but it's also shifting into, rather than aspiration, I aspire to do this because I'm going to get filled from it in some way, shifting to inspiration. I am here to serve and inspire people. And when I hold back my words, my poems, my voice, I am doing myself and the world a disservice.
Cool.
So, because you're setting this bar and going, I have to get here. It's aspiration, which is great. But when you totally shift it over to, I am here to inspire, it takes all the pressure off you, and who you are just gets to be seen. And will it be uncomfortable and scary? For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Sarah,
if you're not nervous and scared about doing what you are passionate about and being seen, it's not what you're truly passionate about. I shit myself before every call.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
So
But thanks for doing it anyways.
But recognize that it's gonna land. Like there's always a period where you first start it and you're like, my nerves are hitting and it's going, and then all of a sudden you're gonna notice that you're gonna be in your feet and you're gonna be grounded. And when you do that, that's when you realize that it's like, I've actually landed. I'm in my being, and that's when you know it's like, this is it. But at the start of every single time, even when I have to go and speak on stage, I'm like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And then I'm like, trust it, trust it, trust it. Like you've been practicing for how many years, Sarah?
Well, practicing creating, you mean?
Singing.
Well, singing forever. Like I was born singing.
Exactly.
But like sharing my creation is like another more personal.
Yeah. What you got to recognize is that you're thinking that my work is me, and if they reject my work, then they're rejecting me on a personal level.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear, and it's crazy. Like it has to stop.
Yeah, and this is where I get it, because I was a model for 12 years, and I had to really recognize that they're not rejecting me; they're rejecting the persona that shows up, and that I'm not what I look like. You are not your voice. You are not your thoughts. You're so much deeper than that. And this is where you get to really connect with that again and go, not everybody's going to love me, but it's not going to matter if I love me. It's not going to matter if I accept me. And that rejection is where you get to go to on a consistent basis. Every time you feel like, oh, I'm not going to do this because I might get rejected, then you go to it. And notice how you feel every single time. Oh, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still doing what I want, because I'm not relying on someone to feed me and give me that love only when I succeed.
Totally.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so inspire versus aspire. There's a very, very slight difference. Now, what I want to ask you guys is, if you had a magic wand right now, if I took out a wand and I literally said to you, oh, is that me? That you have right now in this moment the absolute love and respect of everyone around you. Your friends, your parents, everyone that you care about absolutely adores, loves, and respects you. And every single problem you think you are facing in your life right now is gone. Just stop for a moment, and I want you to even close your eyes and picture if every problem is gone and I am loved, respected, and adored by everyone that matters to me. What is left? Who is that person? And what has changed? Just take a couple of minutes to sit with it. All your problems are gone. You have the absolute adoration, love, and respect that you've always desired, that you deserve. How does it feel? What has changed? What has changed in you? What has changed in your life? What's changed in your surroundings? Every problem has gone. So some of you might notice that not a lot has changed at all. And for some of you, whatever you saw or whatever you felt is giving you very large hints towards what holds meaning to you. Okay.
Who would like to share?
Who wants to share? Magic wand, all problems are gone.
Who's that?
Who's
It's
that?
Sharon. It's Sharon. I'm not putting you on video because I'm homesick and I'm in my pajamas.
That's okay.
But I will share because I started crying when I did that. So I thought
Oh,
it
Sharon.
was good to do it. I felt like when you said it that I am loved and adored by the people around me. So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like the one thing that was different was that I had money and that I loved myself.
Wow.
Yep.
So if she has money, then
This is the thing, because money, what does money represent? Like in that visualization, what did it represent? What could you see if you had more money?
Security, because I just lost my home.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a shitty job that I hate and getting paid really poorly, and money's a struggle every day. And so I think it's the security of having a home is a big thing.
What's the opposite? What's the opposite of security? What does sorry, ignore that question.
Security is safety to me, I think, because I grew up without a home, like a stable home. I moved and moved and moved.
Yeah.
So I think that's safety.
And what is the feeling? What's the feeling or the sensation that you get from that? Because this is where the meaning is.
Not being scared, I think, because I don't have parents or a partner, and I have to look after my children. So it's only me. There's no one to rely on. It's just me. So when I lack confidence or lack the ability to support myself, there's no alternative.
I hear you. I have the same setup, and it's genuinely terrifying sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
and I've got people relying on me.
Yeah.
Because I've got adult children, and I'm the one that they rely on.
How was your parents' money stories?
I didn't know my father, like that lady that just spoke. I met him when I was 21, and he stayed in my life until just recently. And then I borrowed some money off him in the business, and he thought when I went bankrupt and all that sort of stuff, I sold my house to give him the money back. And he essentially said that I was stealing his money. So I gave him his money back and said I wouldn't see him again, because I felt again like it was only about money, not about his love.
Yeah. Who supports you?
Nobody. Me.
Yeah. The word that you're
and Taylor with mentally, I guess, but no one supports me really.
You know this is.
Do you ask for help?
I've asked for help, but I get a situation like with my father. So my mother died, so I don't have a mother, and she had no money growing up, but we were, I think, extremely happy with no money. And my grandmother came from Germany in the war, and she had no money, but she was the happiest, most loving person I'd ever met. So I don't know if that has an impact, but sorry, what was your question?
Do you know what your values are?
I have done this 10 times over, but I feel like they change all the time. But certainly family and love.
Support and purpose.
Yeah.
Even if you're asking support, if you don't feel that you're worthy of it, it won't come across. You won't get it.
I think sorry, I'll cry. Because there isn't anyone to ask. I've tried asking my adult children, and them or someone else says that's wrong because they're my children, whether they're adults or older. There is no one else.
That story right there, that no one can help me, is what we need to transform.
Yeah.
Because there always is people, this is what I was saying before, right at the beginning of the call, about feeling alone. the misguided belief that we're alone in the world comes from having to climb the ladder and believing that you have to do it a certain way. And believe me, Sharon, I understand, because I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, it took me 40 years of my life to ask for help, and it was like chewing glass, believe me. And before that, I would be like, oh yeah, I'll kind of let people support me, but then no, I can do it myself. There's something that you get out of that story. There's something you're getting out of that story that no one can help me. But I want to get into the actual tools.
Sure.
I want to get into these tools. Thank you so much, because what I'm about to say for both the girls that have shared is going to be super helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's always a story and something that we're seeking behind everything. So whatever you saw with the magic wand, all your problems were gone, and however you wanted to feel, the problems that are going and disappearing when you see that visualization, there's a story behind why those problems are there in the beginning. For sure there is. And when it comes to what I see as my new life, and, you know, I'm loved and adored and accepted and approved of, and like Sharon said, even within herself, is pointing you towards the meaning that you're looking for. And if you head in the direction of that meaning, that's why I said 2 words to her: support and purpose. She said she hates what she's doing, but she also said, I have to do it. And we don't have to do anything. Absolutely everything is a choice. And we can get it. Even I totally understand where she's coming from. We can get caught into this belief that I am what I have, I am what I do, and I am what other people think of me. And it's simply not true. So let's get into meaning. Meaning is about knowing I am enough, knowing I am worthy because I exist, knowing that there is only one you, and that is your power. While ever you try and compare and shapeshift and pull yourself apart to literally give other people what they need, you are going to struggle internally. You are going to stay in suffering. When you realize that your uniqueness, forget about everybody else, forget about the circumstances that are in your life right now. Go in, because who you are, at your core, there is only one you. And you chose to be here. I honestly believe this. Everyone on the planet right now, they chose to be here at this time. We have just been literally handed on a platter one of the greatest opportunities in humankind to literally elevate and raise our vibration en masse. It had to happen. I'd honestly lost hope that something like this was going to happen in my lifetime. I was like, come on, something's got to happen, because it's starting to get people to realize that all the stuff can be taken away. Even people taken away, disconnected from others, no touching. And what you're left with is you. And there's 2 camps of people at the moment. The people that go, okay, who am I? I'm going to build a relationship and a friendship with this person. I'm going to tap into what matters, and I'm going to serve because I'm on my knees and I don't have a choice. And then there's those that will stay in victim, in fear, and you're going to see 2 very, very clear camps. And I know which camp I want to stay in. You are enough. Just, if there's anything that I can convince you of, I don't care what you've done in your past. I don't care how many mistakes and failures you've made. You are enough already. And you have enough already to create whatever you want. I can guarantee it. Meaning, it means we start to align with what we value the most. So with what Sharon said, it's not even support, it's connection. Maybe even respect, communication. When we start to look at the values that we need to be able to step into meaning, we start to develop this whole vision of success from the inside out. And I serve, I inspire, rather than I aspire to be this, I inspire with the service that I can, whatever I can do with my head, my heart, and my hands in the world, I get to serve. So rather than just doing what I think I have to do, I get to serve. How can I serve? You have to know your purpose, which we're not going to cover today. I cover this a lot in lots of live talks. There's heaps on my website. We're not going to go into actually designing and crafting your purpose, but the living into meaning starts with first the relationship that you have with your mind, which we're going to break down right now. And then we look at values. What do I need to step into? And that's why Sharon said, I've done it 10 times, but I keep changing them. Until you master, get 3 and master the shit out of them. Make sure they are in the like fibers of your being. Because you have to know, with what I'm about to teach you, with when you start to transform stories, you have to know what you're going to step into in the next 10 seconds. And you have to know the feeling. That's why I was saying before, what's the feeling and the sensation? Because when you choose a value, let's say I choose connection, I have to know exactly what that means to me. I have to know exactly what the feeling of connection, like when I said to Sarah, inspire versus aspire, her whole body language changed. She is getting the emotions and the sensations and the feelings of inspiring, and it feels lighter and it feels better. She's embodying that. I could see it when I said it. She's embodying it. And the next time she has to bridge up against a story that says, don't do this, you're not going to be accepted, that sensation is what she has to bring on. So let's talk about stories. Basically, your mind is a don't get killed machine. It is there to keep you safe. We have an early human mind. It hasn't had an upgrade. It's like a computer that has never had an upgrade. So with this old computer system that's running, it basically says, I'm going to do everything to keep you safe so that you remain accepted. So the only thing that you care about, it is actually not love. It is acceptance. We all think that we want love. You don't, you want acceptance. Because if we're not accepted, there is a possibility years and years and years ago that we could get killed. Killed by your tribe, killed by, I mean, this still happens in a lot of places in the world. You do not go by our belief systems. You don't look a certain way. You don't dress a certain way. You don't talk a certain way. You can't survive in this society. So whatever the status quo is that you've been raised in, essentially it doesn't matter because the mind hasn't changed. The mind still says, don't go your own way. Don't shine. Don't let people actually really see you. Do not go against the status quo because you're going to get killed. So when you are buying into your stories, this is why it feels so goddamn real and they feel so sticky. So I want to break it down. Words, literally, stories are words inside your head. words, labels, put together into sentences. Like, we have to be really real about the amount of attention and entanglement that we put on what is happening here rather than the beauty of what's happening out here. They are words strung together inside your head. If you keep repeating them, they become stories. If you keep repeating a story, it becomes a belief. Now, the reason a belief feels so damn real, if you literally believe you are fat, even if you are like a size 6, is because every time you've called yourself fat, there is a feeling, desire, urge, sensation that comes with that story. That's why it feels real. But if you break it down and go all the way back to the beginning, it's just words inside your head. So we want to catch the words before it gets to emotion, then leads to a reaction, like Sarah walking off stage or never singing your own stuff. So way back before that, we have to start listening because there's a story. Now, I don't believe in hanging out with stories for longer than, I'm not willing to give an unhelpful story any of my attention for longer than about 2 to 3 seconds. You have to be able to heal it. Sorry, you have to be able to hear it and then look at it like, the way I used to describe this is my mother-in-law. Everyone's got, you know, the cousin or a family member that, let's say at Christmas time, you know you're going to have to deal with, but you don't want to hang out with them. That's how you deal with your unhelpful stories. You can say hi, you can wave from across the room, but you do not give it your energy. You do not give it your attention. You don't hang out with that story.
Now, some of you love to hang out with that story. Some of you like to watch it actually put what you know what you like to do, and I did this last week actually. It was bloody hilarious. I basically projected my story on the wall, and then I start watching it and watching it and watching it and watching it and believing it and focusing on it until I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Now, wherever your focus goes, wherever your attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you're focusing on all the things you're not, then guess what's going to keep rising? You're so good at this. I'm so good at this. What we would do is we will look to prove that story right on a consistent basis every single day. Yes. See, I didn't get the job because, you know, I have a story about money. So I didn't get the partner of my dreams because I'm unworthy of love. And you put yourself in circumstances to prove the story right. So I want you to ask yourself, where's my attention going? And notice where it goes, because it literally will become a magnifying glass, and you will focus on it and you will look for it in everything, and it becomes a weed.
Do not think that you need to move your attention from a negative or unhelpful story over to something positive. It doesn't work because your mind knows it's bullshit. So if you try and go, I'm not fat and ugly and I'm beautiful, and your mind's just like, bullshit, whatever, that you don't buy into it. Bullshit. So we're not trying to use positive psychology. The reason I don't use it is I just know that it doesn't work. 10 years, thousands of hours mental health. I've worked with psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists, counselors, holistic counselors. I've worked with a lot of different people, and I've hired a lot of them and trained a lot of them, and it doesn't work. So we don't want that story to go away. All you're doing is taking a torch that you have shining like a huge, this is what I said to Emil last week when he was doing this. I was like, you have a blowtorch out on the one thing you don't like about yourself when you should have like a floodlight on all of the things that you already are. Like, he had this like laser out on this one little thing. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, but you're not seeing all of the other amazing stuff over here. So, but this is what we do. And it is a choice. And if there's one thing you harness and use every day and every moment is I get to choose. I get to choose if I want to hang out with that. But first I have to be aware that it's there. So you have to know what your unhelpful stories are. They are there. Sarah, there is something that you're saying to yourself on a daily basis about I can't. Why you can't. There's something that you're saying. And once you know what it is, the sensations are already there. But then we know that we're not our thoughts. You have to know what your unhelpful stories are. So quickly write down just 3 if you can. And then we'll get to work on diffusing them. You have to name your stories. So once you have those 3, you have to name them.
And give it a fucked up name, like something funny, something to just give it like, because what we do is we take ourselves so seriously. And when we take ourselves so seriously, this is when we fuck it up. Those that are rigid and serious will break. Those that are having fun, you're flexible. You're not like so serious in your body. When you have fun, you're literally not caring what people are thinking. And I have to constantly remind myself as well. And I think it's for you, everyone on this call. It's like, how can I have fun with this? How can I not take myself so seriously? How can I notice the stories and then laugh at it and go, it's that bullshit voice again, trying to just ruin my parade, right?
So when it comes to naming, the idea of diffusion is that we diffuse the power of the story. We don't make it go away. It's like learning to observe clouds in the sky. They might move slowly. They might stay kind of still. That's what we're doing with your thoughts. We're learning to watch them and observe them and go, you have to start inquiring into how ridiculous the human mind is sometimes and go, wow, that is an interesting story. Wow, that's a really unhelpful story. Wow, there's my I can't do this story. Nobody loves me, whatever it is. There it is again. And when you first start doing this, it literally could, you'll be talking to yourself for the whole day or 2 or 3. You will literally be watching and going, damn, there it is again. Oh my God, I can't believe how many times I say this, but this is where you have to start laughing. The mind will never stop. That is a myth. All of your self-talk is always going to be there. I don't care how much you meditate. I don't care how zen and present you are, the stories will be there. The idea of meditation and mindfulness and presence is that we learn to take the laser off the thought and the story and the feeling and bring it into the moment. Because it's in the power of observing in the moment. It's in that power of connecting deeply with all that is where we find our peace. Because when you sit with your observant mind, not your thinking mind, or not your ego, or not your emotions, and not even your intuition. So there are 5 parts to the mind. If you're just focusing on the thoughts or the ego, which is the identity, the intuition that says this is what I'm picking up, and the emotions of this is what I feel, you're not actually accessing the present. And all of those things can be there. But when we sit and just observe and watch without reaction, this is where we find our peace. But before that, you have to be able to catch the story. You have to thank your mind for it. Changing the voice works or naming it. So the other day I was talking to my brother and we were talking about someone who's caused me a little bit of grief. And you know, he said to me, how's Dum Dum going? Like, this is what he calls this person. And I was laughing. And he said, you need to change Dum Dum or his name to, like, what does Dum Dum mean in Spanish? And so we were Googling it and it's Tonto Tonto. So every time I think about this person now, I'm like, oh, that's me getting entangled with Tonto Tonto again. It is not possible to not laugh. So it brings lightness and humor around the human mind and ourselves, more importantly ourselves. Like, if you call yourself fat and ugly 250 times a day, you have to start laughing about this. We need humor. But if the story is, and I'm not making light of really, really nasty stories.
And just before you go forward, so guys, listen to this, right? Because so many of I've had a few of your clients on here that have said to me, you know, I've done so much work and I've done a lot of work on myself, and then I've gotten back into the situation, and maybe it's with a guy, and all of a sudden my insecurities are still coming up. When is this shit gonna go away?
Mm-hmm.
right? So I want you guys to think about this, and is even for you guys on the call, it's like, yeah, you've done the work, but it's like you're not doing this work to get rid of it, because the more you try and get rid of it, you're trying to actually cover it again instead of accept it. Now, accepting doesn't mean that you show up as that and that's your truth. What you're doing is you're accepting that that's just a story, and I'm going to take another action on a consistent basis. But if you try and push it down and you try and hide it, it's going to, what you resist will persist, and it will come up on a consistent basis in other ways. And then you'll beat yourself up again for having that story still show up, even though I've done the work. So I just want you to be really clear about that, because it's one of the traps that people get into.
Yeah.
When they start doing the self-development work, and when they start redirecting their stories, they're like, well, I've done this and I've gotten through this. I'm never going to experience that again. And this is the thing. We're always going to have fears come up. We're always going to have stories come up. The difference is you get better at catching it and releasing it.
It becomes a habit, because the mind really, really, really loves habits. It likes repetition. So if you've ever meditated to mantra, you'll know how good it feels. Like your mind is just like, yes. That's why we like repeating our favorite song. Like, who repeats their favorite song like on repeat when you're a teenager, like over and over again? Like, if we like something, we like to repeat it. But the thing about unhelpful stories is we usually get something out of them. So we get to feel like the victim for a moment, which keeps us safe and small. And like, I watch my victim when it comes out, and I laugh at myself. I'm like, have your tantrum, then go sit in the corner. Do you know what I mean? It's like I put the victim in the corner so that I can get back to what I'm supposed to be doing. So your breath, once you have caught the story, you've named it, you can even see it. You're like, wow, that's an interesting story. Thank you, mind. Breathe. Immediately use your breath, because where the breath goes, your mind follows. If you breathe loud enough and present enough, your mind will follow. So the other thing about breath is that if you're not, I've had people do this where they sit like this and they're like, yeah, I'm breathing, Heidi, and it's not doing anything. Your breath is not going to take all of your problems away. If you do it with the intention of holding yourself kindly, it is the most compassionate thing that you can do for yourself. And I can't stress how this stuff sounds simple, but if it's done with 100% commitment, it is powerful. If you take I hate myself stories and you breathe compassion into that, and you hold yourself like you would your best friend or a baby, holy shit, you will transform that story that day. And if you do that over and over and over again, every single day, 250, 350 times a day if you have to, you will literally be a completely different person.
In fact, set a reminder in your phone 3 times a day. I'm going to repeat to myself. I'm going to give myself a hug. Maybe you give a little bit of love to yourself, right? And do that 3 times a day and set a reminder. I literally do this right now. Every morning, every night, look in the mirror and I repeat my mantra. And then even throughout the day, I'll repeat that mantra. I'm literally like committed to transforming these old stories, and I still have them even after doing this work for longer than 10 years.
So when it comes to breath, like Emil said, we're not trying to make everything go away. You try and make an emotion go away, good luck with that. If you're really angry and you try and make it go away, what happens? It doesn't work.
What happens when somebody says, they see you angry and they say, just calm down? It works, huh?
So when you breathe into what you feel, and this is the opposite, what human beings try to do is hide it, avoid it, or control it. So when you breathe into what you feel, you're making room for it to be there. It's a form of acceptance. It is much kinder, it's much softer, and you're losing the desire to avoid and control comes from the early human mind that's saying, don't get killed, shove that anger down so no one sees it, rather than breathing into it and expanding into the moment. Because the other thing about your breath is that it releases tension and it brings you into the present. If you breathe presently enough, your breath will bring you straight into the present moment.
And sometimes it will be hard. Sometimes you
you will not want to do this.
You'll get caught up in your emotions, and what happens when you get caught up in your emotions? What happens when you're stressed or you're feeling anxiety or anxiousness? Your breath goes shorter. The moment it becomes shorter, there's no way of thinking. Your mind's just like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know what's going on. And this is where it's like even taking an inhale literally for 3 seconds. Now, everyone can do this right now. I want you to inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold it, and exhale for 1, 2, 3, right? Now, I want you to do that on a consistent basis, even throughout the day if you find yourself getting anxious about anything. But then I want you to extend the exhalation, because it's only on the exhalation that's when you actually learn to calm your nervous system down. So what we normally do in yoga, what they do is they inhale for like 3 seconds or 2 seconds and exhale for 4. If you're going to inhale for 3 seconds or 4 seconds, just say it's 4 seconds, and you exhale and bring that exhalation down to 8 seconds. Right? You do that 3 or 4 times and you notice your body will calm down and get centered again in that moment. There is power in your breath. It is everything that we feel. Every emotion is connected to your breath. So the moment you hold it, the moment you're actually blocking the energy, the prana, from actually flowing through your body. Now, when you are actually calm and centered, what happens if I was to get a glass of water and I said, this is you right now, and this is like this muddy water, I put a bunch of dirt in it and I swirled it around. That's your thoughts, that's your feelings, that's your emotions, and you getting caught up in them. And then you're trying to see through it and you can't see shit. And the moment you actually breathe and you be still, the mud settles. The moment the mud settles, the moment you can see and you know what to do. And we all know what to do. We all have the answers, but we have to pay attention and actually listen to what is actually being presented instead of ignoring it and keep pushing it down. No, I can't deal with you today. I've got to do shit. The more you do, the less you be. And the less you be, the more you're in your head and not in your body connected.
Raise your hand if you like to control everything. Let me just keep your hand up for a minute. I'm just expanding the screen.
Go to the next page.
Hang on, guys.
All right, everyone jump on the screen. I want to see your faces.
Megan, really? Christina, really? Vonnie. Who is a big avoider? Who's a mass avoider?
Sabrina, Anna. Emma.
I would have put you in camp control for sure.
I think she goes back and forth.
Okay, so it's interesting. We all do both. It's whether we do it excessively that is a problem. So when you like to control everything, you are thinking that you're in the driver's seat. Like if you imagine being on a train and you literally are thinking that you're driving the train. It's like, I've got this. I know exactly where I'm going. I know the direction of my life, and I'm going to do this and this and this and this to get exactly what I want. And then coronavirus comes and says, no. You actually have no security and no control over anything. So the people that are really struggling right now are those that are very used to using excessive control to get what they want. Now, that's fine. You can be really good at it in the external world, but if you do this internally, if you try and excessively control your emotions with yourself and other people, if you try and control anything to do with your mind or emotions, you're in trouble. It doesn't work. Control, use it in the external world to be able to put one foot in front of the other to do what you have to do, but do not use it internally. Avoid. Excessive avoidance is usually any addiction is excessive avoidant. So if it means that there's constantly things that you're feeling and thinking that you're not acknowledging. And we get really good at avoiding what it is that we say to ourselves. Some people have absolutely no idea they're even doing it. But the middle picture is about coming into the present. Because those who avoid, it's like they're being dragged by the train. Those who like to control, they think they're driving the train. What you want to do is just get off the train completely. You want to stand by the train. You want to look at the mountains, because I can guarantee you, I don't care what's happening in the world right now or in your life, however devastating it might be or not, there is opportunity staring you smack in the face. There always is. Always is. There is always opportunity, and we're missing it because of the stories and because we're entangled with our emotions and because we're not present. So instead of controlling, which is entangling with every thought and wanting it to be different, avoiding, just kind of vaguing out and being really aloof, we want to be in the present going, how can I serve? How can I inspire? What means the most to me again? How do I behave like that person? And if you keep coming back to that place, you will see magic happen, because literally in the present, when we connect with what matters, whatever our values are, whatever we can serve with purpose, we are starting to create a powerful vision that is about meaning and not success.
Sweet. So guys, I want you to think about this, right? A quick analogy just to give you some framework when you are, again, making the stories, right? There's two people. There's the coach and there's the commentator. And I use this analogy because I played basketball and I was obviously extremely critical on how I showed up, and I trained and I trained and I trained, and there was the commentator that is going to talk shit, and this is that voice that you give it a name. He's going to talk shit. He's going to be on the sidelines. He's going to be like, yeah, I don't know if you're good enough. He's like, yeah, you're doing pretty good when you're doing a great job, but the moment you do a shit job, or the moment you fail, or the moment you fall over, the moment he's going to talk shit, and then he's going to gossip to all his friends. Oh my God, did you see him? Oh my God, did you see what he just did? And this is that voice that's always going to be niggling in the background. The commentator's not your friend though. Now, the coach, on the other hand, the coach is like, get back up, stand up again, do it again. It's okay. What did you learn from that mistake? What did you learn from that experience? Now, when you ask what you learned from the experience, what you're doing is you're going into the space of going, what did I, like the moment you ask a question like what or how can I learn from this experience, or what did I learn from this experience, I get a powerful answer. The moment I ask, why is this happening to me, I get a disempowering answer. And you will look for all the things of why this is happening to you, because you're not good enough, because you're not smart, and it's going to prove all your stories right. But if you go, how can I make this work for me? What did I learn from this particular experience? And when I ask that question many times, okay, maybe I was in a relationship that did not serve me and I actually lost myself. So then I asked myself, what did I learn from that experience? And I learned that if I understand my values, that I will never be treated like that again. I learned my self-worth. I learned that I have insecurities that I haven't dealt with before, and now I get to be with those insecurities. And from that, I get to take that new learnings into my new relationship. So everything that you're going through is actually a learning experience. And if we always look at it like, what did I learn from this? You will get over it way easier than holding on to like, why is this happening to me? How come this is happening again? Right? Because you're going to look for it again. Now, the coach is going to talk to you in a nice way. And I was saying this the other day. I was like, what would it look like if you spoke to yourself kindly? What would it look like if you got in your same team? What would it look like if the person that was staring you in the mirror in the face was actually saying, you know what, Emil? You know what, Christina? You know what, Sarah? You know what, Riani? You know what, April? You got this. And I'm going to be here right with you. And we're going to do this together instead of going against each other. And it does take practice, I know, but it really works. Constantly reassuring and saying, I'm never going to leave that inner child on its own again. You wouldn't push that inner child away and go, you're stupid. You can't sing. You can't do this. Who are you to be loved? Who are you to serve? Talking to you, Riani. You wouldn't say that to a little kid. You'd be like, go out there and have fun. Go out there and do your best. And your best is going to change from day to day. Some days your best is going to be amazing. Some days your best is going to be at a little bit lower based on how you're feeling, and based on, it could be you wake up that day and you're like, I'm not actually feeling as good, but I'm going to do the best for my ability for that day. And the moment you stop judging it and comparing it, the moment you actually connect. Because the moment you compare, you're either comparing to be superior or inferior based on what you're comparing. So if you are actually doing better than yesterday, then you give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah, well done. Killing it today. Better than yesterday. But the moment you're inferior and you're comparing yesterday and you didn't do as good yesterday, then guess what? Fuck, this is shit. I'm not doing as well. I should be doing better. And then you go in another spiral. Now, if you're taking your motivation from yesterday, guess what's going to happen every single time? And I was thinking about this the other day because I had a really good day the other day, and I was at the gym and I was doing my mantra and I was feeling good. And that day went amazing. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, I better have a day like yesterday. And then I started comparing. And the moment I started comparing about yesterday, I wasn't present about the day I was in today. I love it how some of you are like, fuck, this is me. Yeah, right? Now I want you to think about this next time. You're not yesterday. Yesterday was yesterday, right? But the moment you keep bringing yesterday and the past into your present, that present becomes your future, and that's where you will create from. It doesn't matter if you had a good day yesterday. Cool, what's today? What's a new opportunity I get to have today? What am I going to create today? And you can build that and look at it little bit by bit, day by day, bit by bit. Now I want you to recognize, all of you guys, we're all in this pandemic, and you get to choose the experience you want to have. And you get to look at it and go, I can come out of this and do the inner work and grow and actually literally, like Heidi said it earlier, harness my relationship with myself. Or I can fight myself and fight it and fight it and fight it. And it's going to be really tough. And there's some days that are going to go up and down, and that's okay. But don't stay in it. Recognize the stories. Call out your mind on its bullshit. Get present again. Take action on your values. Now, if you don't know your values, what I want you to do is think about this right now. What are the values I think I need right now to counteract this behavior that is stopping me from going to the next level, for stopping me from being the best version of myself? So I want you to think about this right now. We're going to do this real quick.
I want to ask, get them to ask questions as well. They need to. My mum came in just right at the end. Thanks, Mum. Does anyone have any questions? Or want to share something?
And this is your time to go, oh, I would never share. I don't know if I should share. And if that's
Quickly put your hand up.
If that's your voice, then do the opposite. Come on, let's have a breakthrough. Geraldine, you putting your hand up? Is that your hand up? I think you put your hand up. Yeah, let's go, Geraldine. I saw your hand.
That's so funny. I was cracking my my fingers.
Maybe it was your subconscious going, I want to put my hand up.
No, it's just so funny. A friend of mine sent me this class, and I've just been taking notes like ferociously because I've been going through a lot of different things in this pandemic. But I've learned during this time how to speak to myself, because this is the first time in like a couple years where I have so much time with myself. So the presentness that I feel with myself has become so empowering that, you know, even though there's all these stories, these like patterns I'm recognizing from clients to, you know, relationships, like I'm able to just like kind of move through it. I've like learned to like all the like the structure that you've been laying out for us. It's just kind of funny because I've been taking the notes so that I can go back to it. But I feel like I've been like, I see myself taking these practices already in this like 6-8 week period. I don't know how long we've been in this, you know? So, you know, especially and acting on values has been like so powerful for me to move from a lot of the negative and like bad situations that I've been in with like, you know, clients and just their true colors kind of emerging, where I've felt almost victimized because I've been telling the story. People are asking me what's happening, why are you leaving this relationship, and you know, just really kind of being very casual, like it just doesn't align with me, you know, and like being like firm with that has like empowered me and like looking at how I'm going to move forward. So it's it just feels really good to understand like self-talk is the most powerful thing, you know, that I have in my hands. It's like,
Also, the tool of values, like you are what
yeah,
you value, guys. So if you don't know your values, you don't know your worth. If you don't know your worth, then guess what? You're going to settle for things that have always been put in front of you, and you're going to go, "That's what I deserve." Now, when
exactly.
you create your values, you actually realign with your soul. That's your gut. That's what speaks.
Hmm.
When you realign and you actually make a choice from that instead of your head,
Hmm.
Right,
the
right.
difference.
And I want to stress as well, like you just touched on something, Geraldine, like
Hmm.
you've been doing this for like 6 to 8 weeks, and it takes, like, I think I put it somewhere in the notes, like to change the habit of a mind,
Hundreds,
it
yeah.
takes about 2 or 3 days, but you completely change your brain and your
Hmm.
cellular level in 6 to 8 weeks. So as soon as you said that, I was
Wow.
like, this is really interesting, because
Yeah.
of a mind, like if you want to teach a kid a new habit, 2 to 3 days you can have that habit down, like where they'll just be, you know, like
Hmm.
yesterday in our house I moved our bin, so where the water filter was is now where the bin is. And for, you know, 5 or 6 times during the day, I'm going over, and every time I want water, I'm going to the bin, and every time I need the bin, I'm going to where the water is. And but it literally took until this morning, where I watched my daughter as well, and we've switched the habit. That is how fast you can do this with your mind.
Right.
How fast it can happen. But if you want to change on a cellular level and embody those values, then 6 to 8 weeks. And what you're describing as well is like you standing in your values. Guys, do not be surprised if big shifts and changes happen, because when on an energetic level from your cells you're starting to go, this is what I love, this is what holds meaning to me, I'm worthy, I'm going to step into service, I'm going to inspire the world, I'm going to inspire others. You start embodying that, everyone around you that is not in support of that is going to throw a tantrum. You're going to see full-grown
Yeah.
adults throw full-grown tantrums around you, and you will lose friendships. People will walk out of your life, and just wait, because there's a little vacuum effect. When you do this shift from ambition to meaning, aspire to inspire, you shift into valued, meaning-based living, there will be a vacuum. Do not be scared of this and think, what the hell is going on? I think Ivana's on this call. I remember getting a message from Ivana going, like everything in my life is being pulled out from underneath me. And I'm like, good, you're almost there going. Because this is what happens when you shift here and then in here, there is this kind of vacuum effect that happens, and you will cop backlash, but it's like, cool. Now you know that those people are not actually, I guess, even operating at the same, it's a frequency that they're
Hmm.
picking up on. And it doesn't mean they're bad people, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with what's happening. It's just that when you shift to meaning, if people around you were getting things out of you before and crossing boundaries, and now they can't, they don't like it.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, wow. That's so accurate. With, you know, and even just having that power and knowledge of understanding my meaning, it's so much easier to see those that do not. Like, I can exit. Like, if they are in this vacuum, like trying to suck something out of me, which is very, like, you know, the tantrum that you mentioned, so much so. Like, these are grown adult business leaders, people that I thought that I was in the fire with at the same time, only to find out that they're not, like, our meaning is not the same, our goals are not the same, even if we were building the same company, you know. So, and this is me coming in as like a consultant for however many years, so it's just so interesting to understand, like, there's so much power in like letting them be, as well as letting myself be, like, with my values and searching for, yeah, like partners that get it.
That's true acceptance, because you're not forcing them to see
Wow, yeah.
your idea, and you're actually, you only when you embrace. We are mirrors, so we see and we judge based on what we judge about ourselves. So if I'm fully starting to embrace myself, it's like, it doesn't matter what you do, because I know
Mm-hmm.
who I am and I believe in who I am, and this is me. But if I'm not, and I haven't accepted parts of me, then I'm gonna let people implode their shit on me. I'm gonna let their ideas impact me. I'm gonna let people download the stories onto me.
Mm.
And that's what's going on right now. Even when we watch the news, what do? We are letting people download a whole bunch of information. That's why you have to be like a ninja of what you're reading,
Yeah.
what you're watching, who's
Right.
around you, who surrounds you, what kind of stories do they have. Like when I have people around me that are constantly complaining, constantly like always like in that space, I'm like, yo, I check in.
Guys, the thing
Yeah.
about presence is that the more you come back into presence and you start to observe, you get very protective of your own energy. Very protective of your energy in your space. And whoever you'll start to feel, when the more you sit and watch and listen what's happening in your own body and in the present moment, and you sit with your breath, anyone who tries to take from that, you'll feel it. You will feel so drained immediately in your body around certain situations. We use this constantly throughout the day, like with whatever we're creating. It's like, this is starting to feel heavy. It doesn't feel right. This person doesn't feel right. We're getting much faster at it as well with people that we bring in around us. We're like, nah, next, So the thing about, you can go from transforming stories straight into present moment, connect to your values and go in under 20 seconds. I'm not joking. And this will become a new habit that you do on a daily basis. You'll catch your mind doing it and you'll be like, this is so interesting. My mind is like, I'm doing this without even realizing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think it's just, when you're in a, I guess, I don't want to call it a negative relationship, but like you guys said, I'm definitely one of those people that tries to reframe everything positively. So even just seeing that part where you said, don't try to make it positive because your mind's going to be like, that's fucked up. It's still wrong,
Yeah.
And that's what I think I've been dealing with recently because I'm like, well, what's the positive side? And really in the end, you were right. Like it is just learning from it and then accepting it, and especially accepting like where I personally stand presently. And that's what helps, move forward from this negative, unhelpful story. So
guys, what's so beautiful about how you work your mind and learning to be compassionate about yourself? Like if what you tell yourself is what you tell yourself, imagine everybody else is doing the same thing. So this gives you a huge amount of compassion and understanding for other humans and realizing we're just all doing the same thing. We're just going about it in trying to control and avoid and manage in different ways. So this is where this connectedness and togetherness starts to come, because when someone is firing off or whatever, it's not like, oh, you're not on my vibration, see you later. It's like, oh, you're in suffering.
Yeah, this whole spiritual game, like out there,
You're in suffering, and there's a story that they're dealing with, an emotion that they don't know how to deal with. And it's not about going, hey, I've got this great technique for you, let me teach it to you on the spot. It's like, how can I seek to understand the state of this person?
And remember, like, there's so many people out there that's like, I'm spiritual. Cool, what does that mean? Spiritual isn't just like I hang with people that make me feel at a certain level. It's like I can go into different places and still keep my center and not get pulled in. Spirituality is full acceptance. It's going into those places where it's like, I can vibe here, but it's not where I align, but I can still sit here and still not get pulled in and be like, oh my God, these people are negative and they're pulling down my vibe and this and that. It's like, yo, it's like you're spiritual bypassing it. Like don't use it to avoid.
Cool. So guys, it's been a good hour and a half. For me, with any kind of personal development, anything, I used to have, and Christina, I saw you write this before, like I'll just do it myself because it's just faster and it's easier to do it. I still do that sometimes.
She does.
I
have to remind her.
But what I learned about personal development is that doing it in a community, like just hearing other people speak today, it's so much easier for us to feel human and understand ourselves when we are taught through stories of others. And your circle is everything, who you're around, what you listen to at the moment, especially. I can't tell you how many messages I delete on a daily basis. I am so glad I don't have a television. But for me, action, I'm pretty much a controlling, take action kind of person. But it's so much easier to do personal development with community support and have other people to bounce things off. So